So here we are for a first look at the TecBean EX5000 sports camera. You see it comes in this nice box, a nice slip case on it. It's not actually a retail display case, but it's quite a nice thing to receive it in. So if you're buying this as a present for someone, it will go very nicely. And inside that there's the actual packing box, and then inside that we have two other boxes. The one on the right is the camera, the one on the left is the accessories. Let's get the camera out first. So if you want to open it without damaging the box, you'll have to be quite careful. Inside there's this piece of packing, and here is the camera already installed in its case with a foot mount on it. You can see the foot mount is very similar to the ones for the GoPro, and later on I will show it being used with some accessories that came with other sports cameras, just so you know that it is compatible with them. All the different bits are covered with protective sleeves like this, which I'll now take off. There's one on the back here as well, I think. Yep, there is. And there is actually one on the screen of the camera too. Opens up nice and easily. There's a little latch here, just slide the latch across, stick your fingernail underneath there, and up it comes. A little difficult to do one-handed, so I'll just use both hands. I suspect people with younger fingers would have rather less difficulty. And here's the camera. Quite a nice solid camera. Remove the temporary screen protector. Button on the front to turn it on, as is normal with these things. There's the screen. You obviously won't get a very good view of it in this video, but it's quite a nice plain screen. You press the front button once to go from movies to photographs, then again to look at stuff you've already filmed, and then finally to go into the settings. So that all looks straightforward, fairly normal. There are two buttons on the side for volume up and volume down and various other things, and the top one turns the Wi-Fi on. This does connect okay to the phone. I've tried it. See my Amazon review for tips and pitfalls. Right, now let's have a look at the bits that come with it. Again, in a nice box. Get the cleaning cloth that you often get with these things. That's quite nice if you want to give it a bit of a clean. I'll just turn it off for a minute. And you get a couple of spare sticky bases. That's always a nice thought. And this goes with another bit I'll show you in a minute. A number of these linkage mounts that you can use to make up different angles that you might want to use. There's a spare slider for the bases. Everything's in its own little Ziploc bag. Just see if I can get this one out. Again, you can see it's the fairly sort of bulk standard thing that all of these action cameras seem to use. And here we have a little frame case. You can see the back's open, so if you're just using it on a tripod or on the tripod adapter that comes with this kit, you can get at the back of the camera. If you want to use it with the clip, to clip it onto a flat surface somewhere, that slides in here and obscures the back panel. Making this clip removable is a nice touch, because most of these frames I've seen, if they come with a clip, it's permanently attached, which means that you permanently can't see the screen on the phone. This one, you can slide it in and out, so if you don't need it, you don't have to use it. There's a handlebar mount for bicycle. I'm going to do some filming with that later. Obviously a micro USB cable. Several straps which you can use with the bases, and here are the bases here. You get two of these, they're both flat. One of them has a screw hole in for tripod fittings if you want to use them. And you see there's holes in the side which you can use with the strap, so you can either strap it down or you can use the attached sticky pad or one of the spare ones that's supplied. The other one's just got a hole in the middle. And then finally you get some of these tie wraps. Quite useful, I guess, if you want to secure your camera. And there's another one of those linky things. Oh, and here is a nice touch. You get the spare battery. And I have actually managed to locate a battery charger for this camera. So I'll be doing a review of that later, and I might well link the two videos together at some point. And finally, another piece I'd like to show you is this piece here. This is a tripod adapter, so you can screw this onto here if you want to use this with your GoPro mounts. Likewise, you could obviously screw it into the base of any other camera if you want to use any other camera that's got a tripod mount on it with your GoPro mounts, which is quite a point. And this bit here is the standard thing for screwing onto the top of a tripod so that you can use your camera in its normal case if you want to on top of a tripod. I think that's about it for videoing this particular bit, so I'll cut this off now. Yes, one final thing I should have mentioned is the instruction book, which is fairly simple and short and is in several languages, including English, German, French, Italian, Chinese, etc. Here's a photograph of all the bits that came in the box laid out so that you can see them properly. They're all standard bits, as I discussed on the video. Work with any GoPro thing. And next we're going to look at some photographs that I took with the camera when we were out in town on Saturday. Some still photographs, that's my lovely wife, and the next one is my son and daughter-in-law. And now we're coming up to a few videos that I took from my wheelchair, because I tend to use a wheelchair when I've had to go out for a long time because of my back, it hurts a bit. And I had the mount the camera just mounted on a standard wrist mount that was strapped round the armrest of the wheelchair. So that clip shows you the camera going from a dark spot to a light spot and how quickly it adapts. And here we are looking around the market. Nothing terribly exciting, but you can see that the camera is coping with things like flickering lights and so on. This is in town, down near our cinema, going up towards a shop we wanted to visit. And next we've got another still which I took in another part of the town centre. The next clip was filmed from the handlebar mount on my bicycle. I went out for a ride in the late evening. It's actually too dark to do any proper filming, but just to see that you can actually get something when the light isn't perfect. Just going up the road here, I went on into the woods, but it was just too dark to use the film that I took in the woods, so I haven't used it. This was the next day. I thought the whole ride was this video was rather boring. It's just a long road ride, and so you can see it around it's on, and then the next bit is going to wiping the screen. More rain spots here as I come up towards the roundabout. It's a bit smoother here, and I've muted this clip. I didn't mute the previous clip before I did the voiceover, so that's why there was a lot of noise on it. I'm rather hoping I've muted the next clip, which is taken in the car, because otherwise it'd be very, very noisy indeed. So this is all just on the handlebar mount that comes with the camera. See, I've got it set to a third overexpose here to compensate for the light sky and the darker road. And here we are with the camera mounted on a standard windscreen mount. The windscreen mount didn't come with this camera, it came with one of the other accessory kits I'd previously owned. So you can see that the camera just mounts on that quite happily. And we're going around the roundabout. I find all this a bit disconcerting because when you're really driving, you're looking to the right and left, whereas here, although you've got a 170-degree angle, you sort of lose sight of things that you'd normally be looking at with your head. And I find, as a driver, I find this little difficult to watch. I occasionally think I'm about to be clouted from the side or something. But there you are, and we're about to go into a tunnel, and you'll see that the camera copes with the artificial light, but of course the colour of the light being yellow, your eyes adapt to it, but the camera doesn't, so you see what the colour really is. And then in a minute we're going to come back out into bright sunshine, and you can see how quickly it transitions. That's every bit as good as the GoPro. Now we're going to have a look at putting the camera on the handlebar mount that came with the kit. So to do this, first of all, I'm going to put one of these right angle bits on, because if I just put the camera on like this, it's going to be looking out along the handlebar at the side of the road, because I'm going to be using this on a mountain bike with straight handlebars. So I need to turn the camera through 90 degrees. So This little chappy does that job for me. Put it on, tighten it up. It's important to get these things seated properly before you start using tools. Don't just use tools to force them. This has been used a couple of times now, so it's tightening up quite nicely just by hand. You might need to use a tool the first couple of times you do it. The camera goes on top of the bracket like that, so it's now facing in the right direction. Try and get the screw to line up. There we go. It's worth just taking a moment if they don't line up straight away, because they might just be a bit cross-threaded. And there we are, the camera is now ready to go on the bicycle. Right, what we have here is the TecBean EX5000 camera, and this is the handlebar mount that came with it. So there we are, it's mounted on the handlebar nice and firmly. Just tighten both these screws up. That's reasonably secure. Now you want this one tight enough that you can still slightly adjust the angle of the camera if you wish to. And there we are, that's it done. Thanks, Nathan. Let's have a quick look at some of the accessories that will work with this camera. This particular one is for attaching the camera to the windscreen of your car. You obviously need to put it somewhere where it's not going to obstruct your field of vision. The camera is going to be hanging upside down. Fortunately, this camera does have an upside down mode that you can set. So you just slide the camera into the mount, and that's job done. You see it just comes straight out again. So I've now got the camera with the bits that originally came with it in my hand. And we're going to have a look at putting it onto one of the mounts I use quite often with other sports cameras, and certainly will do with this one, which is a stick-on base on my helmet. This base has been on my helmet for a while. It's a curved base. It's going to be a bit fiddly sometimes doing these when you're trying to film, but there you go, it just lines up and slides on quite nicely. And then once it's on there, you can adjust it to the angle that you want to film at, and you're good to go. Now, one of the things about these cameras is obviously they're quite secure when they're mounted to a mount like that, but should you drop the camera, it would sink because the case is too heavy. Here's a case for another one of my cameras that's got a float stuck on the back, and as soon as the spare case that I've ordered for this camera arrives, I'll be getting a float to put on that. But I haven't put a float on the back of this one because I quite like being able to see the back of the camera when it's in the waterproof case. When I'm on my bicycle or something, I can see what I'm filming, and I don't need the float then. Camera just on the base that came with it with one of the linking pieces. You notice it's a bit floppy. These things are all compatible with standard GoPro tools, so I can tighten it up with one of these. You can also use an ordinary posi drive screwdriver to tighten these things up if you want to. So there we are. Now that's tightened up, I'm just going to fit the camera to a normal sports camera chest harness. This will work with the GoPro, this camera, any number of sports cameras, and they come with quite a lot of accessory kits, and they're fairly cheap. And there's the camera all ready to go, and I can film from the chest harness if I want to. Just take it off this. Here's another similar thing. This is a head harness. This one's got its own attachment for the camera, so I'll just unscrew the camera from its slidey base, leave the short linkage on so that I can still adjust the camera angle enough, and just slide it in there. And that's just to show you that all the bits that come with this camera will fit onto any standard sports camera fittings. There we are. It's on the head harness, and as you can see, I can set it to whatever angle I want and film from my head. The things I like about this kit are these devices here, which just screw nicely together. They will enable you to use the camera with a tripod. So if I put this piece on the camera like so, pop the screw in. I can then screw it onto a tripod and use it from a tripod. This is quite useful because you can obviously control this camera from your phone, so you can set it up on the tripod and command it to take photographs by using your phone, or of course you can use the timer delay on it. So if you just want to take a quick still photograph selfie, you can use the timer delay and it'll work on the tripod. So that's it on the tripod in the rainproof case. There's another case that comes with this camera, which is this one here, and we'll just try taking the camera out of this case and putting it in that one, and use the other tripod adapter with that case in a moment. Right, so the camera goes in there like so, and then just take this fitting off here, and that will screw directly onto the tripod base. Like so. Okay, so there we are, the camera's set up on the tripod again, but this time in the open case. The advantage of this open case is it enables you to do things like plug the camera into a charger if you want to, which is quite a point if you're filming in the car. So we'll just have a quick look at the other piece that enables this to connect to action camera mounts. That's the other half of the bit I showed you a little while ago. Screws into the base of this camera like that, and will then enable me to pop the camera onto a standard base like so, tighten it up, and I can then use it either on a stick-on base in the car or on the car mount I showed you earlier. This kit comes with some stick-on bases. Here they are. It's got a sticky pad on. I haven't used this one yet, and you do get some spare sticky pads for the bases, which is quite nice. Another use you can make of these bases is you can put a strap through them like this, you can buckle the strap up through itself here, fasten it up, and that will obviously fasten it to anything you might want to fasten it to. I happened to use just such an arrangement on Saturday when I was filming from my wheelchair. There's the thing I was using. This particular one's actually a wrist mount, and it's got a swivel on it, which is quite nice. But you could also use this to mount the camera in a similar way. And finally, let's have a quick look at using the camera on a selfie stick. Here we are, here's a selfie stick. You can screw this base on there, or of course if you're out in the rain you can use this adapter to enable you to use the rainproof case. Here we are, screwed onto the selfie stick. And I can then put the camera wherever I need to put it to take a photograph of myself. There we go. One of the things about these cameras in their waterproof cases is that they don't float, and obviously they're quite expensive and you don't want to lose them, or you might have photographs on which you don't want to lose either. So what you need is some sort of float. I showed you these stick-on backs earlier. This is another answer to the same problem, and this one doubles up as a nice convenient handle for holding the camera, and it will certainly make it float. And as you can see, it's a nice bright yellow colour, so you won't lose it if you do inadvertently drop the camera in the water, and it should be easy enough to pick it up. It's a nice, good, sturdy handle for the camera, and it came with a kit of parts I bought, which was relatively inexpensive. There's loads of these around, and they certainly will stop the camera from sinking should you drop it.